Greetings from Bumrungrad Hospital Talks. My name is Udo. I'm an executive in the Expert Business Development Division. In this episode, I will be shedding light on insurance processes in the hospital and the coordination with insurance companies, because the insurance process is a root cause of many misunderstandings and misguided expectations. During this podcast, I will be focusing on two areas. First, I aim to clarify some key terminology and touch on the implications they have on processes. And secondly, I explain what happens during the discharge process and why you should not expect to leave the hospital immediately once you're cleared by your doctor to go home. To serve our patients, Bumrungrad built a network of direct billing partnerships with almost 80 international insurance companies, over 30 Thai and local insurance companies, and over 40 assistance companies. What happens if we don't have a contract? If we don't have a direct billing contract, patients can pay and claim, or the insurance can engage an assistance company we are working with. Often our staff is asked about details of certain insurance policies. But we hope you understand that each of these insurance companies have numerous policies. Therefore, it is often best to clarify personal coverage with insurance or your broker directly. But in general, health insurance policies have either in and outpatient benefit coverage. If you're only covered for inpatient treatments, generally speaking, you would need to cover all outpatient treatments by yourself. Just a word of advice. Doctors will not admit without medical justification, so people only covered for inpatient treatment are covered. If the insurance deems the admission unjustified, it is in their right to reject the claim, and the patient would need to cover the cost for the admission and investigation or treatment by themselves. If you have outpatient coverage, and depending on your insurance policy, it can happen that you are requested to pay and claim, meaning you are responsible for your reimbursement process. Please notify hospital staff that you would need a so-called claim form for your insurance and a medical certificate on your particular visit, which you receive all after your payment was done, along with your original receipt. Afterwards, you would need to submit the documents to your insurance company so you can get reimbursed. Under some circumstances, the outpatient process is dealt with cashless. You would still need to send the invoice. The hospital then submits a claim form along with the invoice directly to the insurance. Should some items be rejected by your insurance, we would then ask you to return and settle the bill over the outstanding amount. Direct billing enables us to submit the medical expenses directly to the insurance and follow up on the payment. Either out of choice or depending on the insurance policy, some people have to pay first and forward the documents to the insurance for reimbursement themselves. Some policies have so-called deductibles. This is the first portion that has to be paid by the insurance holder. Once the amount is reached, the insurance covers the subsequent medical expenses based on the policy. Co-payments are some kind of cost sharing, which means the insured pays a specified amount of incurred medical expenses and the insurer pays the remainder. Some insurance policies have limits, the ceiling for the coverage of either a disease or disability, or even the entire coverage for the insurance period. In this context, I would like to make the distinction between accident versus healthcare coverage. Some healthcare policies do include accident insurance. Accident insurance, insurance for unforeseen bodily injury that does not cover diseases or illnesses. Healthcare coverage refers to an insurance indemnifying or reimbursing medical expenses for losses caused by bodily injury or illness. Pre-authorization or prior authorization means before some investigations, medical prescriptions, treatments or procedures can be performed, we need to request approval from the insurer, a so-called pre-authorization or prior authorization. This usually happens if the cost exceeds certain thresholds or if it is in a gray area which might not be covered, or can be deemed not strictly medically necessary. In some instances, this can take some time and it can happen that we have to schedule another appointment. Needless to say that we go ahead if it's an emergency procedure. Pre-existing condition. Insurance companies usually exclude so-called pre-existing medical conditions, a medical illness or injury, usually chronic disease, with an onset before starting the current health plan. To find out more about X or inclusions of your plan, you should discuss it with your insurance provider or broker. Now to the discharge process. Once the doctor confirms the discharge from hospital, most people are excited to go home and rush to get ready to leave. And when they are asked to wait, they are restless and annoyed after a few hours. Therefore, I would like to explain the various steps that need to happen before patients can actually leave the hospital, even with pre-authorization from the insurance. Your doctor has to write the discharge summary and medical report, most likely after he or she finishes his or her rounds. He or she prescribes take-home medication, the pharmacy reviews the order, and our pharmacy robot prepares the medication for you. After that, the bill is closed. The final bill is sent to your insurance provider, even if you received the guarantee of payment, GOP, beforehand. The insurance provider reviews the expenses and informs the hospital what is covered and what would be covered by the patient. Some policies have co-payments, deductibles, exclusions, or excess provisions. In most cases, insurances won't cover extra expenses such as phone calls or extra meals. Should the hospital not have a direct billing agreement with your insurance provider, your provider would need to assign an assistance company which functions as intermediary. This process is common, but as you can imagine, it delays the discharge as there are additional steps needed. You have the option to wait for the confirmation or leave a deposit for the full amount in cash or credit card. The deposit will be returned after the hospital receives the final confirmation of coverage. The cashier will inform you once the bill is ready, which you would need to sign. If there is an outstanding bill, we would ask you to settle the remaining amount. You will be given the receipt and your medical report. Afterwards, you receive your home medication and instructions how to take them. As you can imagine, completing this all takes several hours and involves several groups of people, not just within the hospital. Next time you are waiting for your pre-authorization, payment at the cashier, or discharge, please be kind to our staff, knowing that there are numerous steps behind the scenes before they can conclude the service. Should you have any further questions, please get in touch with our insurance department. Thank you for listening to Bumrungrad Hospital Talk. I hope you found this information useful. Please subscribe to our podcast for more episodes.